turning local or national support into lasting partnerships. My name is Lyosha Kos. Everybody knows me by the name of AJ in flag football community. I worked in PR and marketing for 18 years. I stepped from marketing and PR department last year because I was just fed up with everything and went to business development management, which is actually same shit but on the another level. My experience is in sports marketing. I started my career as a futsal player. A futsal is indoor soccer 5-on-5. From that point, it was my local club, and I was always drawn by the activations and sports sponsorships, especially I was watching in 1999 when I was only 11 years old, the Olympique Marseille, and there was a Brazilian player called Juninho Permanente. He probably still is the best free kick taker in the world, and he was wearing the jersey with Renault trucks. And this was one of the stuff that gave me the opportunity to get into the sports marketing to see how the sponsors or the clubs are approaching two different sponsors and to get the money from them. So from there, I went to rugby. I was head of PR for Rugby Union in Slovenia. And as you can see on this picture, this was probably my best and most famous project that I ever had, as we had more than 3,000 people watching a game of rugby in Slovenia. And we broke the Guinness record with 5 brothers playing in the same national team in rugby at once, and those were England brothers who had the Slovenian heritage, and they got Slovenian passport, and never ever happened that 5 brothers played in the same game in rugby. And this was our kind of PR story that broke out and had more than 3,300 people watching that game, and we generated around 1,100 euros of revenue with all the activations that we have before, mid, and after the game. I came into flag football 9 years ago, and from there it was just getting on and on. I saw a lot of opportunities and objection handling, rejections, challenges of the community, and it was a little bit easier for me how to approach to the whole marketing and PR aspect for Ljubljana Frogs. In 2022, we operated as Ljubljana Frogs with 25,000 euros yearly budget. And this is one of the stuff that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today, how we get to those kind of budget and what we did for our sponsors and how we reinvested that kind of money into the community so we can be where we are right now. So we worked with, or I worked with over 20 different sponsors on the local, national, and worldwide. The reality check that I faced and you will have to face as soon as possible is that there is no magic wand. If we all had, or if even what I'm going to present to you today, it doesn't matter that it's going to work for you because it's a lot of work on one side, and on the other side, I didn't do much of the background check, and you really need to know your local community and what local sponsors or the companies need in order to work with you as sponsors. I could go on and on and on and say how the best we are, or how some of the professional sports are using the approach to find the sponsors. The reality check is that each company has its own vision. They have their own budget, if they even have that kind of budget. And on the other side, it's completely different to work with the local sponsors who have or are without budget, and to work, let's say, with the sponsors who would give you the opportunity to raise 25,000 euros on the level that you want to have, and to attract as much as more, I don't know, even the players or the sponsors or the activation and stuff. So the thing is that it's a hard job to do, and why this matters to have the opportunity to work with sponsors. And more American football or flag football clubs are one-man band, which means that you have to be either the coach the player, the QB, the offensive coordinator, the marketing department, the PR department. You have to communicate with players. You have to communicate with parents if you have younger kids who play in the different under 15, under 13, under 11, and sponsors. They operate and they want to be a part of clubs. And when you become business minded, which means that we are past away from some kind of approach to the sponsors where something will be enough. You have to be business minded, which means that the return of investment for those sponsors have to be on the level that it will be good for them to invest any kind of money to you. On the other side, we have sponsorships and we have donations, and we are going to talk about the difference a little bit later. But why this matter is businesses and football clubs on the local area, on the local community, they want to be a part of each other. So you need to build a fan base, and those who were, let's say, at one point in any kind of NFL game, you saw how the professional teams are doing the activations and try to bring the fan base all together so everybody has something from it. So last week I was with my wife in London watching the games of Rams. She's a Rams fan, so it was very good for her to see Matthew Stafford throw five touchdowns in a game. I was not so good for the Jags fans because the Trevor Lawrence didn't perform as it should. But around the stadium, you have a bunch of bars where was station locations for the fan base where they could go and drink a couple of pints, have fun, try to do this and try to do that. Last weekend in London was a little bit of pickle because of the rain and all the activations that they provided from the sponsor side were not as much as crowded as they should be just during the and because of the rain. Football grows when clubs becomes business minded, and that means that if you want to approach to some kind of sponsor, you will have to give them something in return. And what to give them in return is one of the biggest questions because there's not right or wrong answer. It's just the right or wrong approach. We all know that businesses are still made in the bars or restaurants, and you can easily get to the people that you need if you know somebody who knows somebody in person, and then you just need to write an email. And as we said at the beginning, the reality check is a little bit harsher and harder, especially because you will get a ton of rejections with cold emails. And I could say for myself that I got more rejections from sponsors than I did ever from girls that I was trying to pick them up. But on the one side, there you need only one person in life or one sponsor to get to the point where you want to be. Most of the time, people who are asking me for any kind of advice or how to approach to the sponsors or what sponsors buy, it's the same. It's not right or wrong answer because some of the sponsors are searching for something completely different than the others. But in general, if we can say, let's say, from 100 sponsors that I had the opportunity to speak or to work with or to get rejected by, the 80% of them want the visibility, trust, community connection, emotions, and content plan. What do I mean by visibility? Even if I studied marketing and PR for 3 years, they never taught me that there is a very big difference between branding, marketing, and sales. With branding, when you start working with somebody, there is not a chance in your life that first year they will get the return of the investment because they are sponsoring your club, because either they know you or because they think it will be a good situation for them. When you're building your strategy and plan, it should be done on 3-year span because first of all, you can give much more visibility in 3 years than only in one. And when you're building your plan for 3 years, it's much going to be easier to communicate and to make a perfect opportunity for your sponsors to talk to them, to see what they want, to see what kind of money they can spare or spend on you from the sponsorship aspect. And you can build trust with them because they will see that you are not only one day fly who is going to die tomorrow. Either you can change a lot of players inside of your class because they will always come and go. You can always change the fan base from smaller to bigger or from bigger to smaller, depends on the results that you're going to have. But the visibility is always going to be there. And if you will have the trust in sponsorship eyes, it's going to be much easier to generate any kind of money. And we come to the community connection, which I explained to you a little bit earlier regarding the Jaguars game in London. The community connection, when you have 86,000 people who are watching the same game, you can do much more on the community connection than if you have, I don't know, only 10 or 15 people. But we all know it depends on the local community or the local area where you are. I know for a fact that in Slovenian Flag Football League, there were never more than 30 players or 30 spectators who came in to watch the games, or if they were mostly family or friends of the players who were playing on that particular day. It's completely different if you are playing, let's say, on your home ground field, or you're playing on somewhere else, because the biggest difference between American tackle and flag football is that flag football we have tournaments in one location, and American tackle football teams have home games and away games. So on the home games, you can make much more community connection. And this is also one of the stuff the sponsors really like, to get exposure on the local level with different activations that you can bring to them, and to bring community a little bit closer with, I don't know, throwing the football into any kind of shape, or try some kind of trivia, etc., etc., etc. And the fourth stuff that sponsors really buy is emotions. If you can see the level where it's going, everything with the social media aspect is short videos with emotions of the players who scored either touchdown, or they had a pass deflection, or they made a sack, or they made any kind of situation that is bringing emotions outside of the people. And if you watch from the broader picture, if you have, let's say, more and more fans who are cheering for you and having the same emotions that you have on the field, this is what sponsors are trying to buy and to be a part of it. The last thing is, when you're putting the visibility, trust, community connection, and emotions all together, you can build a content plan, which is depending on the resources that you can have or the ideas that you might bring to the table. If you can see on the right side, you have to know, even if you give somebody very big visibility, in the past 30 days, we had 290,000 views. From those was 86.6 followers and 31.4% not followers. And by content type, you can see the level where the number are and how many accounts we reached. That doesn't mean that the sponsors, or you can say to sponsors that 10% of all the views or accounts that were reached, there's somebody who's going to buy their product, because that's not going to happen. You need a content plan and content strategy, how you will approach to your sponsors. You can bring everything to the table so they can see what it's good and what it's not. It's not donation, it's partnership. So biggest difference between sponsorships and donations, and when I'm speaking about this, it's how I see it in Slovenia. Probably maybe you have a little bit different laws in Germany, but if you get sponsor, it acts like you got some kind of revenue, while if somebody is giving the donation, you don't have to pay tax on the donation side. So for example, if GetX Pro is giving me 10,000 of euros of sponsorships, and if I break 50,000 revenue per year because I'm a NGO or NPO, nonprofit organization, which means that I cannot make any kind of profit. And if I do, I have to pay 22% on the whole profit that I make, plus 22% on the whole revenue that we make if we break over 50,000 euros. If they give me the sponsorship for 10,000 euros, it's counted as revenue. While if they give me a gear for 10,000 euros as a donation, at zero euros of revenue. When you're trying to find sponsors, it's not a donation, because if somebody gives you the donation, you cannot, at least in Slovenia, you cannot promote them on any kind of way, and you cannot put their logos anywhere, blah, blah, blah. The only thing that you can do is to say, we would like to thank our donators who gave us X amount of euros because of this and this and this. But if we are talking about sponsorships, it's completely different aspect, because you're building a partnership. Looking at sponsorships, you sell audience and you sell image and you sell story, and the sponsor equation is value for club is value for sponsor, and if you combine this together, share success, which means that you cannot target any kind of, let's say, if you have in the local area 25 sponsors, there is a big opportunity that at least 30% or 10% or 20%, it's not going to share the same value as you have in a club, and they don't have the same value as sponsor. If those two values are not going together, then it's quite simple. There is no need to talk to them or to try them, convince them to give any kind of situation or to be any kind of sponsors, guys. It's going to collide to the matter that it's just not going to work, and you will lose ungodly amount of time to try and fix something which is not even fixable. From the nation partnerships, you always go to collaboration, which means that as much as you collaborate with your players and coaches, the same thing is going to be needed from the sponsors. Let's say if there is a provider in your local area who is having, let's say, some kind of salamis or cheese, for example, and you have a local superstore where you or your players could promote this kind of cheese inside of supermarkets, because your best player is going to be known in the local area. And this is one of the stuff that you can build a partnership and a collaboration where people are going to put the face of the franchise. And especially if you will say, I don't know, there is going to be a label, or it's going to be not some kind of small billboard, or we call it penguin. And if it says that we as sponsors of this local club, like football or tackle football club, and we will give 10% of the whole revenue that we make in a year to this club, it will bring some kind of emotion to your audience that they are going to start buying this cheese from local area, and they are not going to buy anymore the same cheese from French manufacturer or UK or Slovenian one, who can be a little bit cheaper, because they will know that somebody is putting a lot of effort in order to give some kind of club the opportunity to build the story and the values that they have. You will have to know your area, because fans, families, players, volunteers, digital followers, and audience data is going to be your currency. You will know the best your local area, and you will know the best the people who are living in that local area, and you will understand how, let's say, some kind of sponsors are working towards any kind of sports. But as you're living in a very crowded country, you have to compete with other, let's say, sports. And I can speak from my perspective. We are based in Ljubljana, which is capital city. Ljubljana has only 320,000 population. 70,000 of those are students who come and go on a weekend basis home, and we have to compete with professional football club, which won Slovenia National League in soccer last year. We have to now compete also with the hockey club who was just bought from the Canadian guy, and he brought a Canadian coach who are winning everybody in Austria League. We have to compete with volleyball. Volleyball is one of the most important sports who are having very good results. And then we have a basketball club. And as you know, Germany beat Slovenia a couple of months ago in the Euros. And then we are a small club who is not known in the local area as it's known on the broader area in Europe, Mexico, even Mongolia, now American Samoa, etc. We still need to know our area, who is our target, and who are the sponsors that we can work with it. My approach was always do not try and get the same sponsors who are sponsoring much more known sports in the area, but try to find smaller companies who share the same value as you do. We had NA.com for 5 years as the main sponsor, and there was Slovenian Amazon, and in Slovenian language means that it's super fine. We try to build everything together with our value and their value, because our value is that we want to be fast and efficient on the field and outside the field, and they want to be fast and efficient when somebody is ordering product on their platform, and they can bring in, let's say, 47 minutes or a couple of hours from the click when you buy something on their store to the door of the customer. And then you have different aspects of fans. We talk to our families, and families start buying the products on their store, and we did the metrics. We also had a promo code. We knew exact amount of orders on monthly or yearly basis, how much people were buying and what kind of revenue share they had, and how did we communicate. And then you can put on the Q3, Q4, and then you can start talking to others. When you have volunteers, you cannot pay them because they're volunteers, especially if you're organizing any kind of local tournament or local game. But you can always give something from sponsors to volunteers and bring insight of their memory that somebody is putting a lot of effort into it. You have sponsors who are putting a lot of resources and the same kind of amount of effort into your club, so you can grow. And then you have also digital followers, which means that you can do much broader picture and try to put everyone into one funnel, and then you have to distribute that funnel on the local, on the online, on the youth, on the family, and also business to business. What it's mean business to business is that you have to do some kind of hub. Okay, the perfect example would be that you are sitting today among other coaches. Imagine that if you have, let's say, 10 sponsors inside of your own club, and those 10 sponsors are sitting once per year or twice per year together, they can build their businesses together, especially because everybody knows everybody, or somebody knows somebody, in order to get the information to him or to try and sell the product that they are selling to somebody who is trying to find the same product and buy from them. So 10,000 person in community is 10,000 potential touch points that you can have. And the more data about your audience you're going to have, the bigger currency you can sell to the sponsors that you're trying to get. On the local area, it's much easier to target than on the national level, or even, let's say, on the worldwide in Europe. But as just I explained to you, if you are trying and help local businesses to help you, you will need to connect your local community to your sponsors or the local businesses that want to sponsor to you. If the local sponsors or the local businesses have better sales, they will have better return of investment, and that just means that you're going to have better sponsorships. And if you have better sponsorships, then you can have better infrastructure. If you have better sponsorships and more money, you can bring better coaches inside, or even if you have already good coaches, which are Hugo, I'm pretty positive that you are going to be, they can start paying you at least some kind of amount of those sponsorship that you have. How I started the whole sponsorship situation with my club, I went to my local auto mechanic, I went to my local car dealer, I went to my local insurance company guy, because everybody needs a car to drive somewhere. You need a mechanic who is going to fix that kind of car. You need an insurance guy who is going to give you the best possible rate for the car that you bought. If that happens anything while you are, let's say, parking your car in front of the local bar and somebody hits you, if you have everything covered, you're not going to stress a lot because you will not need to pay from your pocket. And then you have also, I don't know, local stores or local grocery stores, and you have local hairdressers. Regarding the local hairdressers, there is a very good opportunity to go to, because first of all, it's easy. Everybody needs a hairdresser, and it's one of the oldest professions, and I don't think that anytime soon is going to die. In Slovenia, all the hairdressers really like to talk, like a lot, which means that they're spreading the rumors, they are trying to listen to you, which means they are very resourceful on the level that you want guys to have them, because there is a very big probability that somebody from your local area who is cutting the hair at a local hairdresser is the owner of a company. And if you bring, I don't know, 20 of your friends to start having the same hairdresser, that means that this hairdresser is going to generate X amount of euros of revenue. And if everything clicks, they're going to start pushing those people who are owning the companies to invest in your club. Same goes with bars, same goes with auto mechanics, etc., etc., etc. So this is one of the stuff that you can bring the visibility to them, and it's the easiest way to persuade people and start ordering to change the mechanic from, I don't know, official one to the local one, who is much better and much cheaper, which means that your community is going to save a couple of bucks and your local mechanic is going to have better revenue stream or revenue share. The most questions that I ever had or got was, does my club need to be run as marketing agency? And I would sadly say yes, because more sponsors, for example, the same car mechanic that we talked about, first of all, he doesn't possess the knowledge to know what it's needed in order to bring the visibility on social media on this particular area or on a little bit higher level, which means that you will have to provide to them the content strategy and to say, look, if you give me 2,500 euros per year, we can make 5 or 6 TikToks or Reels on Instagram. We're going to post this and this and this. We're going to try to make it funny. We are going to put our franchise player or the best player or the most known player that we have into your suit with your brand on it, blah, blah, blah. We'll find some kind of funny story, ha, 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 he, he. And you are going to sell the emotions, because smiling is one part of the emotion, which we discussed at the beginning of this presentation, which means that you will have to know what kind of content you would like to present to him. You will need to write the script. You will have to communicate between your players. You will have to film it. What it's much better if you have somebody who is going to do this for you. And then you will need the content plan, what to put, when to put, how to put it, because for local mechanic who is changing the tires on the cars, let's say talking about changing tires in July is just not worth it, because nobody is changing the tires in July. But if you create a content that you will do 5 reels on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, by the end of October, that everybody needs to change the tires in November, this is the opportunity for you and for your local mechanic to know when to do what and how this is going to be one kind of return on investment for them. You will have to have, let's say, professional photos. You will have to do the professional or not professional video, but any kind of video. If that is going to be any kind of printing, you're going to post logos on the banner for the home game or the home tournament. You need to find a designer. Designer is going to design this for you. You will have to print it. You will have to put it into, I don't know, the locations that are not prohibited to put those kind of banners or billboards. And then you have the communication strategy to generate as much as possible people or your local fans who are going to the home game or the home tournament. And you will have, when it comes to expenses allocation, you need to know that 30 to 50% of the whole sponsorship money that you're going to get is reinvested into marketing. The three biggest issues that every sponsor is facing is they don't have the time, or if they do have the time, they don't have the workforce. And if they don't have the work, or if they have the workforce, they need numbers. So that equals, if I go back to marketing agency, and if I go a little bit further, its visibility, you will need to have the numbers of the views, of how many percent are the followers, how many percent are not followers, who is coming from the local areas. I don't know, 35% of our digital followers, or all of followers are coming from local area, 25% coming online, 20% is youth, 10% is family, 10% is B2B. This is the numbers that you will need to present to sponsor, so they will know how big scope they can go into it and what they can get in the return. And if you ask me, all the life or all the time that I was spending with a sponsor and attracting the sponsors to invest into our club or rugby union, or helping to other clubs, it's not a rewarding job searching for sponsors, because you get a ton of rejections. If you don't know anybody, it's even more painful. And even if you knock on the right door and you break those doors, they will give you the opportunity for 50 minutes to talk to them. If you don't have the right numbers, if you didn't do your market research, if you don't know your local area, you're going to get rejected. You can go from one rejection to two rejections to maybe 10, maybe 25. When you get rejected 30 times, you're just fed up with everything, and you're going to say, I'm not going to work with anymore, or anyone else. And we are far past that. Logo on jersey is just not enough anymore. And yes, Niels, I choose your brother as a person who has a Frogs uniform. I'm proud that anybody who is listening to my presentation today knows who NR is and what kind of sponsor were they for us. It's a little bit different with GetX Pro, because they are the providers of gear, jerseys, compression socks, grip socks, even hoodies that I'm wearing right now. If you say to your sponsor that you're going to put only logo on your jersey, it's just not enough anymore, because you will need to do the activations, you will need to provide to them this and this and that, and have a content strategy and plan how to do it and what to do it. And when you know your expertise, and when you know your values, and when you know how to approach to somebody, it's much easier to get some kind of sponsor, even it's a distributor of something, or it's a producer of protein powder, because all of us need protein powder, or we need protein intake to be as best as possible, to have a little bit less injuries. And this is what you can communicate with your but for us it's a little bit different than for you, because we are focusing more on national or worldwide area than the local one. On the right side was a marketing campaign for sun cream because we play a lot on sun. Our season is from May to the middle of July, and then from middle of August to September when the temperature are high, and everybody needs, if they don't want to get sunburned, they need sun cream. And we found a sponsor that we did the marketing campaign. One of the questions says, what do sponsors want? And here is a value pyramid. They want three things. One is relationship. They want to have a transparency communication. They want to have a transparency relationship. They want from you or from us to not give the wrong numbers or trying to tell that we are the best. They need content, they need a ton of it, and they need exposure. And this exposure is the smallest one because sometimes quality is better than quantity. And sometimes you just need to target 1 or 10 people, which is much easier than two if you need to target 1,000 or 10,000 people to get the same kind of exposure or to get the same kind of revenue share. Communication timeline is also the key. As I discussed with you at the beginning, the difference between branding, marketing, and sales. Q1, which means Q1 is from January to end of March. Q2 is from beginning of April to end of June. Q3 is from July to end of September. And Q4 is from beginning of October to end of December. And in Q1, you need to do branding. You need to put as much as more content, just visual, because human brains need to see 8 times one and the same stuff to get into your self-conscious. And when you're seeing the same logo or same face, it's going to get into your subconscious. There is a psychology review that people are tending to buy more of this kind of product if they see it multiple times. In Q2 is marketing, so which means that you have to prepare the content strategy. Let's say the Q2, it's mostly game days. You can provide them a bunch of designs with results or statistics or anything that is engaging the community as much as possible. And in Q3 is sales, which means that a lot of companies already know how much revenue will they have by the end of the year, and you can go with this because you can help them sell even more. And in Q4 you're having meetings with them and try to make the best plan for next year. So you will start with the Q1, Q2, Q3, and for the next year then the best. Also in the timeline, what's important is that you have always pre-season, and you have season and you have postseason. In preseason and postseason, you communicate completely different aspect of your sponsors that you are during the season. While during the season, you have more and more content to work with. In preseason or in off season or postseason, there's no much content to talk to them. You can do a bunch of interviews with your own players. The hardest question to answer to me is how to approach or how can I attract more sponsors. Every sponsor is different. Every country is different. Every culture in each country is different. So there's not right or wrong answer. I just learned that you have to be persistent and you don't need to take first no for a definitive answer. But I know that there are a couple of steps that you can do in order to get to the level where you want to be. Before you reach out to any kind of company, it's very important to research company fit. Let's say if there is a company who you don't think it's worth to work with them, let's say acquire it for the stones, or if you want to do with, let's say a luxury manufacturer, if your local area or if you don't know people who can afford to buy that kind of product, that the company is not the right fit for you because it's going to be much harder to get into it. But if you know somebody who is having that kind of company with the luxurious products and they just want to do the branding, then it's totally okay because then you just put something out and this is pretty much it. The first contact should always be short and relevant. You can do different sample messages. What's important is that you know who are you selling to, sending to, not selling, sending to, because it happened to me quite a lot that I've forwarded the email from one company to another and I didn't change the name of the company or the name of the person that I want to target. And you can have sample messages, but you really need to be thorough on what you're doing and what you're not. I got rejected a couple of times because I said, dear this, but I was talking to another person who has a completely different team. You will need the follow-up strategy. You will have to put the timeline chart. What is very tricky about this is the companies are doing the budgeting by the end of the years, so in October, in November, and that's the most or the best time to approach to them because they will know how much they can spend for another year. What is tricky is, again, I'm speaking from Slovenian, is you have fiscal year which ends in December. So if I get a sponsor who is paying the amount of sponsorship by the end of this year, I will have to pay tax for next year because I didn't spend all the money. And not a lot of sponsors are giving you the payment on, let's say, first week of January, so you can have 12 months to spend that kind of that amount of money that they give you. Even if I put out the Rechnung or the invoice in 28th of December and they pay on 5th of January, it's going to be booked as the end of December, which means that if I didn't spend all the money, as I am a non-profit organization, I'm fucked up. The fourth step is the meeting preparation checklist, the visual icons. Most of the people are visual. If you're using Instagram or TikTok or whatever, it's just sufficient to make a screenshot so they can see and visualize what's happening, especially if you don't have an external designer or you don't know how to design a couple of your own stuff. AI tools are very good because they can, my whole presentation was made yesterday with the help of ChatGPT, and you just can tell him that you need this kind of graphic and it's going to make it to you. The fifth step is tone. Tone should always be professional, clear, and respectful, even if you know in person that person. And no matter what is happening, your sponsor will be with you, even the complete team changes. So they are not investing in the players, they're investing in you and your club. And if you can see on this picture, we have only 3 guys left and we still have the same sponsors with which we started to work with because they're buying the idea of the club, not the idea of the players who are. And most of our sponsors do not even care about the results. They care about the return on investment, as everybody is. So the packages, how to build the packages, we have completely easy stuff. We have 4 levels. So one level is bronze, silver, gold, and main partner. You have investment from 1,000 euros to 2,000 and 5,000, 10,000. An example value is local visibility and banners post, blah, blah, jersey plus content, full integration, which means that you even pair their name and stuff. And if anybody approached to us or I approached to them and they say to us that they're going to give us, I don't know, 600 euros, I say, thank you very much, but it's going to count as a donation because we don't have sponsorship packages for 600 euros and they are completely okay with it. Because once per year we have this sponsor meeting, and everybody's just mingling there, and everybody is happy. Retentions really matter. If the retention doesn't matter in player aspect, it really matters on the side of the sponsors. Renewal starts day 1. Which means when you sign the contract with potential sponsor or your sponsor, because there is no lead or potential lead anymore, you need to have the communication open. I try to find once per 2 months, 1 hour of my time to go to every sponsor that I meet, or if nothing else, online meet. Just talk to them through what is happening, what we did, how many blogs did we write, if we did the backup links, if I posted, I don't know, pictures of their product and link to their web shop. The second one is show results every month or every 3 months or 6 months or once per year, depends on the collaboration with sponsors and how much they want us to communicate with them. I give them the results of, like I show you the picture at the beginning, how many views we had in 30 days, how many views we had in 60 days, how many views we had on 90 days, what kind of content was the most valuable. There's a lot of activation ideas that you can run to. We have sponsors of the game. You can have MVP powered by this brand. You can have junior flag football tournament presented by this. We have Frog of the Week. By the end of the year, every club is having MVP awards, so you can present to those. If you need a sponsor checklist, that you know what kind of audiences, what kind of materials you will have, what kind of packages that you need, and its outreach plan, what kind of content checklist, what photos and stats to always have or communicate. Like explained to you, the design stats, people really love designs and stats, especially of the MVPs or game results. If you post, I don't know, that which 16 teams got qualified for the World Championship. And to know the local community is a long-term stability for you and for sponsors. And sponsors are looking at you a little bit different if you're working with them 5 years, or 10 years, or 15 years, or your club is more than 15 years old. How I did our sponsorship offer is like you can see here. On the first page, you need to find a hooker, what is called. And I talked to a lot of people, and we went with Unite Your Brand with our community, because our community is a little bit bigger. It really helped that flag football became Olympic sport, so we can communicate that. And on the second page, we have a bunch of pictures of Niels because he was playing with us, and I tried to show them that we are all inclusive. We tried always to find foreign players to play with us. I will have to change a little bit of pictures of more products. So Kapal was one of the sponsors, and how we did the activation is just the aspect of to see. What's very important is marketing potential. The flag football is a sport is really rising momentum, and a community of 20 million players globally are taking the leap towards the Olympic dream in Los Angeles 2028. And only 60 players from all the world will have the opportunity, 60 men and 16 women, to go and travel to Los Angeles. And this is what sponsors can attract. If one of your players is going to go really there, they can use it as a marketing opportunity, because everybody likes to do a very good PR, especially if somebody won a medal. I've faced a lot of issues with local sponsors here in Slovenia because they didn't know what flag football is. We made a design to tell them what the quack is, our chant, because Ljubljana Frogs has a little bit deeper meaning. I'm not going to dive into it, but everybody is calling us frogs. We are very famous for frogs, more than 10,000 years. Ljubljana was a swamp back in the days, and there was a lot of rega rega quack quack. So we explained to them what is flag football, how big is the field. It's made for all genders, blah, blah, inclusive. Who are we? The timeline, it all began, how we started, and then you have what the quack is our story. Like I already explained to you, we have numbers in flag football. In Europe, it's more than 1,000 teams. You have more than 15,000 players. You have more than 150 spectators. And we had at one point in one reel on Instagram, more than 500,000 of views. Our numbers comparing to others, it's always nice to compare yourself to somebody else, so the sponsors can also see that who is doing very good or who is not. We have to change this because we're way past 10,000. Then our philosophy, it's very important when you're structuring your sponsorship offer as to have the mission, vision, and goal. And what's our 10 years goal? What are the sponsorships? The many benefits of sponsorships. And then we have, let's say, if you play main sponsor, you get logo placement, you have event sponsorship, you have advertising, you have VIP experience, you have social media promotion, you have product placement and giveaways, you have brand activation, what you get and what you're not. The logo placement, what's happening with this, the brand activation that we give you the opportunity to do this and this. You can be a personal sponsor of Frog player because every Frog has to pay 240 years of membership per year. You can do also on that kind of level. Then you have a bunch of different examples, the logo branding, all the logos of the sponsor that we had, the Merlin Magical 7 rules, how to place this and this on carousels, how we meet each other at the events, the community outreach, the VIP hospitality. Then you have Frog of the Year award, Defensive Frog of the Year, the MVP, the most important frog, and then you have the supporters as the donator, and thank you for jumping into the pond with us, which is how we finish everything. And then for every sponsor that I have the opportunity to work with them, I write them our offer, what should be. If I was telling you about a bunch of positive aspects, what happened, I can talk also a little bit about my biggest mistakes. Nobody tells you about the mistakes and nobody teaches you about the mistake that you make. One of the biggest mistake was that you cannot give the players what they think they deserve, and you cannot pour all of you into searching for sponsorships and to try to work with them and to give them the content plan and the talking about the creativity and how you will build everything, because they want also the interaction with the players, and not all the players are camera friendly, or they even want to do anything for the club in the level of the situation. So for example, we had a brand activation for one of our sponsors in the local supermarket. And when I asked our players who is willing to go there, nobody said anything. And then I needed to go, and you're putting a lot of your time and effort into it. And sometimes it's just not worth it. Know your worth, know also what you can provide to sponsors. And especially before you moving to any kind of situation, first talk to the players what they are willing to do, because if they are not willing to work anything for the sponsors, then they will have to pay a little bit more. And now as flag football is becoming more and more popular sport, it's going to also have the more and more professional approach. And you cannot, or you should not, invest your own money into something that it's not going to hold on the long term, because players are not going to be committed to make any kind of marketing aspects or to help the club with the brand activation or to gain much more, let's say, sponsorships. So to wrap it up, everything, there's no magic wand. It's just structure, communication, and consistency. There's not wrong or right doing. There is just, if you are a little bit more creative guy than others, or if you have somebody who can run the marketing aspect for you, because in local community, it's much easier to find somebody who's going to be volunteer or need any kind of practice or experience at the beginning. It's much easier than to run everything by the one person. I hope that I didn't bother you a lot, or I bored you with a couple of approaches and information, and I hopefully you have any kind of questions for me so I can answer to you